don't think he likes the Queen. What's going on, boys? How we doing today? I'm going to read some articles, and I just picked them from the title of the article. So we'll both be shocked and surprised when we unveil these articles here. Let me get one pulled up and we'll get started. Let's try this one. What is this one? Oh, don't do this to me. Now I gotta reload all the pages. Okay. Fashion designer Alexander Wang rejects sexual assault allegations as male models take up Mgtow mantle. Well. What the hell is this? It's reloading, I guess. After several young men went public with claims they were sexually assaulted, even drugged by the American culture prodigy, Wang has denied the accusation. Some, however, insist his behavior was an open secret in the industry. That's a dude? I always thought that was a chick. Alright, this 37-year-old designer denounced the allegations of grotesquely false in a statement several days after the men began coming forward with their stories about Wang. See, now I could make a Wang joke right here, but I'm not. I thought this was a bride, though. Alright. Well, he likes playing with PPs, I guess. Alright. This is the New York Times one that also went blank on me. What's going on with these web pages? Here we go. This one is entitled, Are You a Guilty Feminist? So what do you think, boys? Are you a guilty feminist? Who's all here? Nobody in the chat yet. So let's go see if we're a guilty feminist. The comedian Deborah Frances White discussed the perfect funny side of the oh-so-imperfect feminism. Jesus. Alright, this is what this bride looks like. For some women, feminism has become another thing to feel inadequate about. Are these people even the slightest bit... I mean, it's like they get up every morning and they find something to complain about. Feminism. Okay, let's go. In 2015, Deborah Frances White, a London-based stand-up comedian, decided she wanted to be a better feminist. At the time, Frances White felt like she was having a life of double standards. She didn't want to be seen as a decorative object, but would also obsess over her weight. She would advise women on powerful leadership techniques, then apologize profusely for bothering a man when she called him for work. See, now, what's wrong with that? You bothered the shit out of somebody, you apologize. That's just fucking common, everyday courtesy. Goddamn feminist. Want you to be courteous to them, of course, but when they bother the piss out of you, they don't want to apologize about it. Alright. It goes on with the bullshit. It goes on and on and on. It never stops. A lot of feminists in the public eye were wonderful, she said in an interview in her own words. They were inspiring. They were so sure of what they knew. And I would look at my hypocrisy and insecurities and think, am I good enough? Are you good enough to get into feminist heaven? Have you followed the commandments of feminism to your best ability? She started sharing her secrets over lunch with the comedian Sophie Hagen, and shortly thereafter, their podcast, The Guilty Feminist, was born. Jesus, these motherfuckers have a podcast. Alright, the concept of feminism has, of course, evolved over the past few decades, with each new wave defining it slightly different. No, the reason why it is evolved is every time you motherfuckers get something, you want something more and more. For Frances White, feminism is a fight for equality and inclusion for the entire gender spectrum and for minority groups. Each podcast starts with the trope, I'm a feminist, but, and she and her rotating roster of co-hosts go down their list of laugh out loud feminist fails. One opens with, I'm a feminist, but one time when I was in a women's rights march and popped into a department store to use Lulu, I got distracted trying on face creams, and when I came out, the march was gone. Now, I don't think anybody's surprised by that. I don't think anybody listening to this or reading this is surprised that you people get distracted easily. The point and appeal of highlighting these contradictions is to laugh at them and then discuss ways to get better. Frances White explained, get it out, look at it, put it on the table, and deal with it. She added, we're trained to feel guilty about everything as women. Who trained you to feel guilty? For some women, feminism has become another thing to feel inadequate about. I caught up with Frances White during her book tour around the U.S. to discuss imperfect feminism and white privilege. The conversation has been lightly edited and condensed for clarity. You know what? I think we're going to condense this for clarity too and just nope out of this one. Guilty feminism. What kind of bullshit are you talking about? Who's all here? No, nobody's in the chat yet. Let me change this to live chat. Welcome, boys. Welcome. Wait a minute. Here we go. What is this bullshit? Okay, misogyny and sexist violence is the result of male entitlement. Here's why. Oh, I'm sure this is going to be a fact-filled, fun discussion. Alright, many feminists have argued that sexism is caused by the fact that women are not seen as fully human. In a new book, Kate Main completes this narrative. No, it's not that you're not human, even though the female human has more in common genetically with the female chimpanzee than they do with male humans. Plus, you're just children. I guess that's what you meant. But you think that you're getting treated differently. No, a child. You always treat a child differently than an adult. But you guys don't get that. Or if you do, you don't care. In 2013, a Minnesota woman named Ray Folick accused her boyfriend, Randy Vanett, of raping her while she was unconscious and unable to consent. Folick says she knew Vanett raped her because he boasted about having sex with her while she was asleep. Ooh. Ladies, if someone has sex with you while you're asleep and you don't wake up because you don't feel anything, I think that's the least of your problems. But when someone's sleeping, when you're sleeping, someone's screwing you. I think you screw enough in the daylight hours. So I'm sorry. She later secretly taped him confessing again. Then he reported his confession to law enforcement. But the police refused to press criminal charges. There's always two sides to every story, Detective Dean Chef told Folick. Even though in this case, Burnett repeatedly agrees to the facts. Vanna and the police simply felt that having sex with a woman while she slept was not a crime. Sweetie, again, I don't know how to tell you this, but if someone screws you while you're sleeping and you don't feel it, I think it's time for a vaginal reconstructive surgery stat. Oh, okay, all kind of thing. What's up, my man? What's up? John Valencia, how you doing, brother? Thomas Hobbs? Yes, sir. She got a loose motherfucker. Okay, many feminists have argued that this kind of sexism is caused by the fact that women are not seen as fully human. Now, we talked about this. You're just children. But in her new book entitled, which discusses Florick's story, Cornell University philosophy professor Kate Main argues that misogyny is not really about dehumanization. Interpersonal violence is a thing you do to persons, not to inanimate objects. Vanette and Chef Eupholic was human. Main argues they simply believe that Vanette, as a man, was entitled to Florick's body and her consent. Now, here's the deal. You're going to have a jury, and you're going to have a defense attorney, and she's going to get up on the stand, and the first thing he's going to ask her, so he had sex with you, but you didn't feel a thing and you didn't wake up. And she's going to say, yes, that's correct. Then he is going to call in a whole line of dudes that are going to go out, ranging from the jury box all the way out the door, down through the metal detector place where you go into the courthouse. They shake you down, and then down the courthouse steps and then around the corner. Because, so I don't think they just wanted to bring it to trial because of that. Yes. I do not think you want to get on the witness stand. As a matter of fact, let's throw this one out of the courtroom. Come on now, load. Okay. Okay, yeah, here's one that feminists are all about equality. That's all they want. They don't hate men. Well, here we go. And this article is only 3 months old. We should have the right not to like men, the French writer at center of literary storm. Pauline Harminge, author of I Hate Men. Harminge. Fuck, I don't know. Call her a bitch Pauline. A French writer and aspiring novelist published a treatise on hating men. She expected it to sell at the most a couple of hundred copies among friends and readers of her blog. Instead, a threat by a government official to take legal action to ban Moles Homes Giles Detesti. All that shit to say I hate men. Alright, has made it a sellout. The first 450 copy print run was quickly snapped up, as was following 2 reprints. Now 2,500 copies have been sold. The publisher, Monstograph, described as a micro-publishing house ran by volunteers, is overwhelmed and says I Hate Men will not be reprinted again unless a bigger publisher comes to the rescue. Well, let's hope not. Harminger, 25, is a mix of bemused and shell-shocked to find herself in the middle of a literary and political storm. I didn't expect this. It's been an enormous surprise, she told The Guardian from her home in Lille, northern France, where she lives with her husband. Well, goddamn, now you hate men, but you gotta work hard supporting your ass while you only sell 200 books to your family and friends. But anyway, you hate men. She goes on, I wrote a novel, but it was never published. I wonder why. Harminger said that she was asked to write I Hate Men after someone spotted a blog she had written on misandry or man hating. The 96-page essay opens with a quote from Sylvia Plath's The Bell Jar. The trouble was I hated the idea of serving men in any way, and it explores whether women have good reason to hate men. I am married to a man who is great and really supports my writing. I bet he does, you 250 book. But in general, I mistrust men. I don't know. Okay, now this is crazy. I got me a workhorse, but for all you other motherfuckers, I mistrust you. Okay, I just don't have confidence in them. This comes less from personal experience than from being an activist in a feminist organization that helps the victims of rape and sexual assault for several years. I can state for a fact that the majority of aggressors are men. She added, if we were heterosexual, we are encouraged to like men, but we should obviously have the right not to like them. I realize this sounds like a violent sentiment, but I feel strongly we should be allowed to not love them as a whole and make exceptions for certain men. Just like your workhorse that you just made an exception for. Okay, the book says defending misandry is liberating and can create space for sorority and sisterhood. What if women have good reasons to detest men? What if anger towards men is in fact a joyful and embracing path when it is allowed to express itself? I Hate Men was published on the 19th of August when much of France were enjoying the summer holiday, and it certainly would have passed unnoticed had Ralph Zoumeli, an advisor to French gender equality ministry, not written to threat legal actions. This book is obviously an ode to misandry, both in terms of the summary on your site and in reading its title. I should like to remind you that incitement to hatred on the basis of sex is a criminal offense. Yeah, they have no problem when it works one way, but when it comes back the other way, it's Consequently, I ask you to immediately remove this book from your catalog under penalty of criminal prosecution. We were a little afraid to start with, but the first print had already been sold to the publisher. So the publishers decided to send the books out and see what happened. As a precaution, they didn't print anymore. I was shocked. This man works for the Secretary of State for Equality between men and women, whose mission is to do something about sexual assaults and rape. It seemed outrageous that he was more concerned about censoring a small feminist book instead of doing his job. But if you did a Mgtow book, a Manosphere book, I'd be just fine. I'd be doing his job. All right. When the story was picked up by French investigative website Mediapart, the publishers went ahead with a reprint. The ministry told Mediapart that Zoumeli, who had appeared, had read only the title, and the publisher's description of I Hate Men had acted on his own initiative. Yeah, I'm pretty sure those feminists in the French Department of Feminism cold his ass pretty quick. I'm positive that happened. Okay. Okay, now they're describing his actions as council culture. Excuse me, gentlemen. I gotta get another pack of cigarette on my. Oh. Well, you know, they don't have any problem counseling my goddamn channel. But yet when it happens to them, all of a sudden it's cancel culture. But hell, I lost how many Mgtow channels so far? I want to say about damn near 4 because of the so-called cancel culture. Okay, unfortunately, but not surprising, misogyny is so well anchored in French literature, we don't often even realize it. We don't often even realize it. Because it's not there. You have to point it out and twist it to make it into something. Check the chat real quick, see if you gentlemen have something to say about this. Yeah. I don't think so, John. I don't think that was my video about the store closings. Boys sound familiar. My channel was Cyber Monk, but like we said, council culture shut that down. Yeah, John, don't curse. No, bro. That's a lost cause with me, buddy. Okay, what we got here? Okay, this is a review of that bitch's book. Okay, it says, I Hate Men in some ways a distillation of the thinking laid out in Helen Lewis's book, Difficult Women, which reminds us that no feminist pioneer got anything done by asking nicely. Hating men and all they represent is absolutely alright. It's absolutely alright. Okay. Just don't forget this shit when you come attacking Mgtow and saying that, you know, we're a hate group. Because apparently hating men and all we represent is your absolute right. It's a state of mind that doesn't make us bitter or lonely, contrary to what the patriarchy would have us believe. I believe that hating men opens the doors to love of women. See, now, here we go. These diesel driving dykes hate men because they see us as competition. And as long as they can, you know, suck young women into this bullshit and try to do what they do, I guess it's all good. But that's what it's all about, boys. Doors to love of women. Okay, I Hate Men in some ways a distillation of the thinking laid out in Helen Lewis's book, Difficult Women. 25-year-old blogger from Little Flan. I'm trying to look for outtakes. See if they have any outtakes. Okay, along with sharing statistics on the women who are raped, beaten, or killed by men. Okay, I got something for you. Along with sharing statistics on the women who are raped, beaten, or killed by men, perhaps the only piece of solid research in this book, she castrates men for stealing women's ideals and taking over them, for objectifying and telling them how to dress, and for failing to take on their share of domestic duties and emotional. Okay, I got it. I got you, you little bastard. Okay, studies show lesbians much more likely to beat, sexually abuse their wives than heterosexual men. Okay, Aaron Pizzi, uh, August 26, 2017. In the early 70s, when women and their children were coming into my refuge as the only refuge in England, and in fact the only shelter in the rest of the world that recognized and taught that generational family violence was a huge social problem that for so long had remained a secret known only to the courts and family agencies, I was aware that lesbian women also had a problem with their same sex partners and also needed my refuge. Indeed, the most vicious beating I had ever seen was the bruises and broken jaw, plus other injuries that were inflicted on the young women who came to the refuge for help. See, now this is how these big diesel driving dykes do it. They have to project their behavior on men. Hence all this other bullshit. I hate men books and all that shit. Okay, even though I argued publicly that there was similar, if not more, violence between lesbians and their same sex partners, I could get nothing published because by the time gender feminists had a stranglehold on all information pertaining domestic violence and put out false information claiming that it was the male oppression through the ages that meant that the patriarchy, i.e., all men were responsible for violence, rape, and battery of their partners. I immediately saw this as a weapon that the gender feminists believed they could use to fund their political ideology by selling the ideal that all women were victims of men's violence, and therefore money should be forthcoming to fund their hijacked refuges. The argument that if, as this evidence-based article linked below proves, lesbians, women are indeed as violent and are more violent in their relationships than heterosexual women, the whole concept of blaming all men as predators against all women falls apart. I guess we could go to the studies. But there you have it. There you have it. What has feminism achieved? See what you guys say in the chat. Yeah, Thomas, I believe that. I believe that. All women are bisexual. It says, welcome to the Manosphere. A brave new book shows why we should all be afraid. Laurie Bates, Men Who Hate Women, prove that misogyny hasn't disappeared. It's just gone underground and online. The dangers are real. She got this one eye. Kind of looks wild there. I don't know. Like I say, if you haven't heard about my stimulus plan, we give a $600 check to Israel, another $600 check to Pakistan, another $600 check to the Sudan. Then we take all that money and divide it up, get ourselves $2,000 a piece, right? And then what's left over, this is why, I say Mgtow don't hate bitches, because if I were the Mgtow king, this is what I would do for you ladies. The rest, that's what is left over, we would go into a public health fund. And that fund would give free breast enlargement surgery to any woman who wanted it, without charge. And this is the public health scare. Vaginal reconstructive surgeries. Who can argue with that? Okay, let's get on with the bullshit. I don't mean to slight the brilliant, insanely brave writer Laura Bates when I say that I did not want to read her latest book, and that my first reflex on getting through a page of men who hate women was to slam it shut and go watch something soothing on Netflix. Sure, I realize that there is a seething cesspit of misandric hatred out there, but much like the next dental appointment, while dimly aware of its existence, I'd rather not think about it. Okay, let me tell you this, ladies. I hope there's a lady watching. If there's a lady watching, just say so in the comments. We're not gonna dog you as long as you don't open your mouth. But just, if you're a lady, just type hi, I'm here, and see. I'd like to explain this to you. Okay, look at it like this, ladies. A rattlesnake. You don't hate the rattlesnake for being a rattlesnake, because it just is. It's going to bite the shit out you. It can't help itself. Okay, and we know female nature. Okay, and we don't blame you for your female nature. But we know it's there. You know it's there. So it's not as much as hate as exposing your nature. Now, if you think that's hatred, that's only because you had a good con game going. You had men believing, uh, in your fairy tale bullshit. And when we finally figured out the con, you know, I guess that's why you hate us, because we're exposing your game, right? So it's hard to con a mark when he knows your game. So, but other than that, I mean, I don't hate you. I don't give a shit about you. I really don't. It's uncomfortable to know that a violent hatred of women isn't confined to the time cliche of spittle-flecked keyboard warriors in graying Y fronts, and that there are swaths of men in all layers of society who hold views that frankly make Margaret Atwood's Gilead look progressive. Bates is best known for running the Everyday Sexism Project, a webpage predating the Mgtow movement that lets women share their disparagingly commonplace experiences of prejudice and harassment. For her new book, she set out to find the source of an increasing fanatical wave of misogyny, prowling the message boards, uncovering as a delusional young man called Alex. She walks us hand in hand through the shocking online communities that stroke a world pandemic of sexual assault and violence against women. Okay, now they're taking taking incels in that one episode where that guy in Canada, uh, I don't know what the deal is with incels. I don't know the way they think. So it's really hard for me to comment on their behavior, but they're going to tie all men into this incel attack, I'm guessing. Together dubbed the Manosphere, itself a cute term for Bates warns trivializes the threat. The movements include incels, a shorthand for involuntary celibates. Frustrated and grumpy over their lack of success with women, this group of characters broadly appears to believe that rape and sexual slavery are not just justified, but part of the fabric of an ideal society. Those who enjoy a sexual success, Chads and Tracy's, meanwhile, deserve violent retribution. Bates shares a typical post from a user who is perturbed by the concept of women as human beings in charge of their own lives. Okay, I'm sure these boys picked out a good one. Let's see. Nature gave them a bunch of social and sexual advantage to compensate for the lack of resources. Alright, so far so good. Now that they have resource and sex power, things are out of balance. We need that prevent females from going to university or taking family supporting jobs. Our prisons are full of men who could not feed their families. The rape law should be repealed. Females are artificially restricting the supply of available females in their reproductive years. Rape is the answer. Societies go to war over lack of females and jobs. Females have become a threat to society and must be put back in their place. No, that's never going to happen. Unless war breaks out and then you have a female draft. And then they'll all be, little meek housewives. But anything other than that, technology is going to have to save us. I mean, when indistinguishable sex bots are not, maybe not indistinguishable, but damn close enough to make the fantasy real, and artificial wombs. That's what's going to save Mgtow, man. Because I don't see, other than World War III, anything that's going to make women give back rights that they don't have any responsibilities for. All right, we'll go to another one. Another one. Here we go. Okay. The new cult of militant misogyny poisoning minds. Laura Bates' discovery and a truly shocking expose that teen boys are being brainwashed online to violently hate women. Okay, I guess we are all brainwashing teenage young boys that don't know any better to violently hate women. Again, it's not hatred, ladies. The game's up. The con is over. The marks know the game. Okay, why should I believe you? I blinked in surprise. The teenage boy looked back at me, polite interest on his face. In the course of delivering a school session about gender equality, sexual violence, and consent, I just discussed my own experience of being sexually assaulted on a bus. God damn. She's telling this to children. How she got sexually assaulted on a bus. I mean, there's some things you just don't share, especially to children. His immediate response was to ask if I was lying. It hasn't always been like this. I started working in schools 8 years ago after creating the Everyday Sexism Project, a website which cataloged thousands of experiences of harassment, assault, and abuse. After I realized just how many of the stories from young people came from young people, it became clear that we needed to have conversations about these things in schools, something that largely wasn't happening at the time. So I visited hundreds of schools, giving young people an opportunity to discuss their own experience, gender roles, sexism, and more bullshit. Naturally, the response to me and the debates I was initiating were very mixed. There was awkwardness and confusion, resistance and embarrassment. There was nervous giggles and a few outrageous comments. At the West Midland School, the boys plotted in advance and wolf whistled in unison as I walked out on the assembly stage. Good on you, boys. But underneath the usual prickly teenage surface, young people were usually willing to talk and share their experiences. Yet in the past 2 years, that has all changed. I have started to experience fierce and angry resistance. Good on you, boys. Teenage boys arrive at my sessions prepared with hate-filled arguments about lying women and false rape accusations. Okay. So all your arguments about these men lying and saying that they didn't rape the brides, is that a hate-filled argument? All right. They didn't want to talk. They weren't prepared to listen. They already knew that feminists are out to destroy men. Gee, I wonder where they got that idea. I wonder if no one in the manosphere ever exists. And, would these boys have the same outlook? Well, hell yeah, if they had half a brain. Okay. Men, especially white ones, they said, were the real victims in society. The boy who told me he didn't believe my story of assault was not an isolated case. From inner city London to rural Scotland, teenage boys, usually around 15, came up to me with the same arguments, word for word. That's good, boys, doing your homework. Or they'd repeat the same false statistics which claim, for example, that men are raped far more frequent. Or they repeat the same false statistics that which claim, for example, that men are raped far more frequently than women. Okay, I'm going to have to look that one up. In reality, according to the Office for National Statistics, around 560,000 women experience sexual assault each year compared with 140,000 of men. Okay, now, in your fucking world, sexual assault is you don't like the way that somebody looked at you, or somebody farted and he fart raped you, or some stupid shit like that. So, yeah, there's always going to be... okay, Susan, I forgot what the hell I was going to talk to you about. What the fuck was I going to talk to you about? God damn it. Does anybody remember what the hell I was going to talk about? That weed's good, boys. I ain't gonna lie. But anyway, I can't remember, Susan, what the hell I was gonna talk to you about. So, onward we go. Come on, New York Post, load up now. Oh, don't do this. The spinning wheel of death. Okay, here's a good one. An insane feminist attack on Alcoholics Anonymous. This is going to be good. The New York Times has drunk the whole Kool-Aid and in doing so turned against one of the most effective tools against problem drinking. A December 27th op-ed piece headlined "The Patriarchy of Alcoholics Anonymous." The Patriarchy of Alcoholics Anonymous. The essay struck this progressive Times reader as just the latest attempt to find bigotry and misogyny anywhere nowadays, a calling of the left-leaning media outlets so far so dreary familiar. But as a recovering alcoholic that was alarmed by the piece's dangerous ideals, alcoholism is potentially a lethal disease, and it is no exaggeration that this article could lead to avoidable fatalities by steering young women away from the world's most prolific recovery program. This program, Whitaker writes, of AA was designed to break down white male privilege. It thus made sense for the original members. It reminded them that they were not God and encouraged them to humble themselves, to admit their weaknesses, to shut up and listen. Perhaps these were much needed messages when it came to the program original intended audience. But women need power. What in the fuck? No, Miss Whitaker's AA 12 steps principles were designed to arrest alcoholism in a progressive, incurable, and eventually fatal disease that knows no race, gender, or creed. Founded in the 1930s by two men, how misogynic in Ohio, today's AA has more than 115,000 groups in some 175 countries. It didn't become so widespread by breaking down white male privilege. It got that big because it was the first program ever to prove effective in combating alcoholism. Peace gets worse, taking issue with AA's first step, admitting powerlessness over alcohol. Whitaker finds the very ideal to her ethos of girl power uber allies. Today, women don't need to be broken down or told to be quiet, she writes. We need the opposite. I worry that any program that tells us to renounce power that we have never had possess the threat of making us sicker. I've never had possesses the threat of making us sicker. Okay, I've been to a few AA meetings, and the power they're talking about, well, she said it, powerless over alcohol. That's all it's admitting. You are powerless over alcohol. Whitaker thus completes societal powerlessness defined accordingly to contemporary feminism compared with AA's use of the word, which applies not to the word at large, but the specific condition of being unable to stop drinking. Okay, as an alcoholic, I am powerless over alcohol because if I imbibe it, it is nearly impossible for me not to drink to excess and even to oblivion. Well, you get older, that shit changes quick, man. I didn't even have my once a year eggnog. I didn't even want to chance it. Okay, alcoholism, like any other disease, isn't sexist. And whatever perceived gender imbalance or other microaggressions that exist in AA are insignificant compared to the prospect of drinking oneself to death. Whitaker is nitpicking an existential crisis akin to a cancer patient calling chemotherapy racist. Okay, but then again, Whitaker doesn't believe in alcoholism. She says forthrightly on her webpage her problem drinking was all society's fault. Whew. All right, here's the deal again. I thought women were powerless in this misogynistic society and that they needed special laws and quotas to protect them. I mean, at least be consistent. If you're going to say one thing, at least stay on the same page. I mean, and going after AA, I mean, how many other businesses and organizations have you gone through to get to AA? I'm afraid you're going to run out of organizations pretty soon. Okay, she's got to be a diesel driving dyke. I mean, yeah, the rest of this is just complete bullshit. So let's go on to another article. Okay, today in feminist history, Alice Paul is finally transferred out of the psychiatric ward, November 18th, 1917. Well, this is some World War I shit. Okay, National Women's Party leader Alice Paul has finally been transferred out of the psychiatric ward of Washington, D.C.'s district jail, and today succeeded in smuggling a note out of the hospital ward where she is now being kept during her hunger strike and force feedings. Okay. Her confinement in the psychopathic ward was never really about her sanity. She was singled out for extra punishment for coordinating the protests by the demonstrators who have been picketing President Wilson by standing along the White House fence with large banners each day since January the 10th. You know, here's the thing. If you were in jail, you would try to act crazy just to go to the psych ward because it's a lot easier than jail. So I don't think this is any kind of extra punishment. These silent sentinels are highlighting the contrast between President Wilson's untiring advocacy of democracy around the world and his lack of any meaningful effort to help win it for the women of his own country. He has yet to even endorse the Susan B. Anthony Women's Suffrage Amendment or use his considerable influences to help get passed by 2/3 of both the House and Senate, each controlled by his own party, then sent to the states for ratifications by 3/4. Over the past few days, a number of prison officials have admitted that they have no doubts about Alice Paul's sanity, and at that point, the policy of subjecting her to the atrocious conditions of the psychiatric ward became so obviously punitive, unjustified, and illegal that her confinement there can no longer be continued. In a note to Doris Stevens, who is temporarily heading the National Woman's Party in Paul's absence, Alice wrote, Miss Winslow and I are at opposite ends of the building, each locked in her room with an iron barred door. I saw her as they brought me on a stretcher from the psychiatric ward, but I have not seen her since. We are each in a ward with 3 windows. Today they nailed 2 of my windows shut so they can't be opened. The 3rd window had been shut at the bathroom, so that only air I have now is from the top of the window. This is done by the order of Dr. Gannon. He seems determined to deprive me of air because air was one of the things we demanded in our letter asking for recognition as political offenders. they were asking for air. Okay, we have, of course, been deprived of everything else that was included in our original demand letters: books, visitors, decent food, except as they force it upon us through tubes. 2 weeks ago, they did give us letters like this one, on the back of which I am writing. Alright, see, I don't see anything too out of the ordinary there. I guess this is that bride. I don't know. I don't see nothing wrong, because that's what you got to do. Okay. We got here. How many Mgtow are in the USA? I would say in the hundreds of thousands. All right, let me get back to another article here. In recent years, feminist movements have attached significant attention in Europe and North America. So why do so many young women still say they do not identify with the term? Fewer than 1 in 5 young women call themselves feminists. Polling in the UK and US suggests that doesn't matter if no women call themselves feminists, because all women are feminists. Period. Point blank. Don't let this bullshit fool you, boys. That might come as a surprise as feminism, the advocacy of women's rights on the grounds of equality of the sexes. I don't know. I think we just read a couple articles that can prove that very differently, but go ahead. A day after the inauguration of U.S. President Trump, millions around the world joined the 2017 Women's March. A key aim was to highlight women's rights, which many believe to be under threat. Alright, I'm just going to go through this shit. Okay, rejection of feminism. These events have all helped to bring feminism to mainstream attention. So it is perhaps unexpected that the identity feminist has not gained more popularity among young women in the Western world. In the UK, there has been a small increase in the number of women who identify as such. The 2018 YouGov poll found that 34% of women in the UK said yes when asked whether they were a feminist, up from 27% in 2013. It's a similar picture in Europe, with fewer than half of men and women polled in 5 countries agreeing they were feminists. This ranged from 8% of respondents in Germany to 40% in Sweden. However, people do not appear to reject the term feminism because they are against gender equality or believe it has been achieved. The same study found that 8 out of 10 people said men and women should be treated equally in every way, which many agreeing sexism is still an issue. Okay, where does it get to the part where they give reasons when the women are not identifying as feminists? Okay, so battling stereotypes. Another hurdle may be some of the stereotypes and misconceptions associated with feminism. In her introduction to the recently published anthology Feminists Don't Wear Pink and Other Lies, curator Scarlett Curtis refers to the stereotype of feminists as not wearing makeup or shaving their legs or liking boys. As not wearing makeup or shaving their legs or liking boys. These stereotypes have persisted through the ages. In the 1920s, feminists were often called spinsters, and speculation about their sexual preferences was rife. Almost a century later, these views still hold the same sway. Yeah, okay. Having interviewed a diverse group of young German and British women for my research, I found association of the term feminism with man hating lesbianism. All right, story over. I think they got it right. Yep, they pretty much got it right. This story is officially over. Okay, what do we got here? What is this? I was 11 years old when my teacher told me not to be a crazy feminist. Well, he did you a favor, or she did you a favor. I was 5 years old when I first learned the definition of feminism, equal rights for men and women, but even in 2017, people still seem to be under the impression that feminists are a bunch of insane man-hating women who hate anything or anyone who isn't female. I don't know about other people, but I'm a feminist and I've never consumed a man burger. Okay, we started out with just two articles that were just, I mean, all the proof that you need. That they are, in fact, a bunch of insane man hating women who hate anything or anyone who isn't female. In middle school, I was placed in a history class about women's suffrage. When I told my advisor at the time that I was extremely excited about the class, she said to me, "Great, just don't become one of those crazy feminists." All right, she did you a favor. "Excuse me," I said. "Well, it's just not attractive. Boys don't like girls who are aggressive." Suddenly, I was being taught by a 30-year-old teacher who I looked up to basically dumb myself down and be non-aggressive about what I believed. I felt betrayed by her. I felt embarrassed by her. I felt like she was not someone I could ever talk to about feminism. I wished I could tell her that in reality, any guy who finds me unattractive for being female is not a guy who's worth my time. To be fair, I was also 11 at the time, so men weren't on the top of my agenda. To be fair, I'm pretty sure that men aren't on the top of your agenda nowadays, but go ahead. When a woman who you look up to tells you something like this, what do? Do you listen and follow her advice? I wish you would have. That way we wouldn't have to read this stupid shit. She seemed to be under the impression that women have to be weak for men to like us. She seemed to think that women having minds and using them was a turnoff that made us unattractive. My advisor, a grown woman, was telling me, an 11-year-old girl, that my feminist beliefs were coming off as aggressive. Okay. First of all, 11-year-old, 11, 12, 13, maybe 15. That's when your brain stops. You are forever a child. Nothing wrong with that. Nothing to be ashamed about that. That's just evolutionary biology. All, especially mammals, since we take so long to mature, they need a gender who is able to relate to them, to keep them alive. We're men. We were burdened with everything else. So no, we don't want a woman telling us shit with a child's mind. I mean, just do what you're told by an adult and be happy. That's all you have to do. And you're good. You're golden. What do we got here? The dangerous rise of men who won't date woke women. And every article and every title is some kind of danger. No wonder they're scared of their own goddamn shadow. The word irrespective means saying or doing something without taking anything else into account. For example, irrespective of the fact that the cost of living has jumped, putting pressure on many people, the government plowed on with Brexit and argued that there would be no real economic impact. So it is fitting that white man of the moment, Lawrence Fox, who appeared on the BBC's Question Time program and told a BAME audience member that Meghan Markle has not been on the recovering end of racism before subsequently appearing on the cover of the Sunday Times to tell the world that he does not date woke women, and then displaying an appalling underestimating of the history by calling the inclusion of the Sikh soldier in Sam Mendel's film 1917 incongruous, has irrespective tattooed on his arm. What the fuck is all this about? Okay. Let's continue. Did you hear that at the back ladies Lawrence Fox, who you perhaps only knew as Billy Piper's ex-husband because you've never seen Lewis, does not date woke women who he believes are being taught that they are victims. Let's go back to the title. The Dangerous. I think they're being taught that they are victims. Irrespective of whatever they might write or not, he thinks that it is institutionally racist to tell the story of the First World War in a racial, diversive way, irrespective of the fact that Sikh soldiers absolutely fought for Britain. And he also doesn't believe in white privilege, irrespective of the fact he works in a painful, undevised industry, was privately educated, and comes from a wealthy act. So where is the woke women part? Not wanting to date woke women, far from being laughable, is actually one of the more insidious aspects of it. Spend an afternoon on any major dating app, and you'll come across generally white men saying openly sexist and misogynistic things. Mine says, and I shit you not, where the hoes at? Getting back to the article, they might say no psychos, or that they fucking hate big eyebrows in their bios. And by and large, they also tend to extremely right-wing views and see themselves as victims of liberal thinking. Alright, you ladies like men 6 foot and taller. It's okay for you to have standards, but not these dudes. Come on, man. In fact, as I was writing this, a dear friend sent me a screenshot of a guy. Oh, excuse me. Screenshot of a guy she just matched with, who describes Jordan B. Peterson as his dream dinner guest. Yes, the same Jordan B. Peterson who thinks that white privilege is a Marcus lie and wants millennials to drop their obsession with social justice. She just, I meanwhile recently had to block someone who matching me launched into a vile rant about how women are evil, only want sex, and treat men as though they are disposable. When I asked him if he hated women, he replied that he had only moderate disdain for us, before asking me whether I didn't want to date him because I'm actually pretty rough. Okay. Trying to get to anything that makes any kind of fucking sense. Yeah, this bitch, she goes on, talks about all kind of shit now. Okay, what is this one? Oh, this is some fucked up shit. Okay, alright. Dog pilling. The online theory that women are rejecting men to have sex with dogs. While not visible in mainstream internet spaces, dog pilling is a long standing theory that is rapidly beginning to thrive. Well, this is the first I've heard about it. As a matter of fact, I believe I'm going to need a little bit more medication to get through this. Men shouldn't allow dogs into their house, one user wrote. Be wary of women and dogs, wrote another. Dogs are naturally gifted at licking nether regions. I wish I was joking, wrote one. With women that have dogs, just check how often they have male dogs, and it's not a coincidence. Hoo-wee. This is some new and improved shit here. I haven't heard about this. These posts are from forums across Reddit, shared on predominantly men's rights spaces. They represent a barely veiled and long-standing ideal that has driven men to vilify women's sexual freedom based on little to no case studies or information. Despite this lack of evidence, the ideal has maintained its hold on these communities for years and is now beginning to creep into the mainstream. This theory is dog pilling, the widespread internet driven ideal that women have sex with dogs more than they do with men. The name is from the ideal that you have taken the dog pill or you have it. The notion that those who have been exposed to and believe the theory are the ones who have taken the pill that makes them see the truth. Dog pill believers claim their theory is supported because there are more internet forum threads with women describing sexual attraction to their own dogs than there are websites with women describing their attraction toward male virgins. All right, well, at least I got some sort of evidence, you know. So I don't think you can say that this doesn't have any merit. When I was a kid, on the school bus journey home, there was some kids that lived in one neighborhood, and I don't know, I guess I was about 2 or 3 miles away from them. And one day at school, the kid was coming and was talking to his friends. I just happened to overhear him. He was telling us that they had a chick that lived across the street. And they were over there peeping Tom on her ass. And they caught her letting the dog go to town. Now, I didn't take it serious back then. Because, you know, how kids are. But I might have to rethink that. Plus, there was a YouTube channel with a broad on there. I can't think of her name, thank God. That, she came out publicly, having sex with her dog, and she'd give advice to other women on how to screw the dog and all that shit. But to understand this phenomena, you have to also understand two major online movements. Oh, shit. The first of which is Mgtows, men going their own way. The online community has existed for nearly 2 decades. Born out of pickup artist spaces in the early noughties and formed of men who feel that feminism and the women's rights movement have ruined heterosexual relationships. Most of these men report having had some bad experience with women, predominantly romantic rejection. In response, these men have chosen to go their own way, leading a life without any romantic involvement with women, and in some cases no involvement with women at all. I don't think it's just because we got rejected, sweetheart. I think it's more about gynocentrism. But go ahead. The second and perhaps more mainstream of the two movements, more mainstream? Holy shit, is the incel movement. Incel is short for involuntarily celibate. Men who believe that women are refusing to have sex with them. Incel ideology also purports that women who are sexually active or whores and sluts, demonizing women who have premarital sex and congratulating women who don't. Incels have made headlines over the last several years, largely when linked to terrorist attacks. And here we go with the bullshit. There are many intersections of these two movements. They are both predominantly filled with men, demonize bitches for being sexually active. We don't demonize them, we just describe it. That's the thing. Okay, women get a kick out of integrating good men to choose the bad boys. That's just evolutionary biology. Back in the day, either, when death was a real threat 24 hours a day, the women want to be with the big, strong bully guys, for protection. But now the world has changed. Now they don't need so much more protection as they need providers. They've tried to change with it. They've tried to act out their genealogy of their programming to get with these big thug guys, and then when they turn around and beat the shit out of them, all of a sudden, all men are, thugs. So, what are you going to do? What are you going to do? When women openly value pets over men, it makes sense why so many of them engage in bestiality. This is a common rejoinder in the conversation about dog pilling, which this particular one, coming from the Red Pill forum, or Reddit forum, dedicated to men going their own way. Why bother masturbating when you have a loyal sex slave that will lick your pussy on demand as long as you have peanut butter and can't knock you up when they dick you? It'll probably be openly celebrated soon as a female counterpart to Mgtow. Now he makes a good point here. What's left for feminism to endorse other than bestiality, other than what's that shit when you fuck little kids? I can't think of it right now. Other than that and bestiality, I think that's all that's left. to go after. I don't see any other groups. I think they covered them all except those two. But he makes a point. That might be the next bullshit they pull out of the closet. Oh my God. Other posts argue that dog pilling supports the foundation of incel theory that women want to have sex with nice guys. One post on our Mgtow forum February tells the story of a friend, Sam, who is classified as a solid dude who walks in on his girlfriend with her Great Dane tied to her with a big puddle of cum and a jar of peanut butter next. Oh my God. Oh my God. A Great Dane. Jesus, man. Ever since Sam told me about that shit while he was drunk, it totally changed my perspective on women who interact with dogs. User wrote. Oh my God. On the same post, hold on, I thought I dropped my cigarette. On the same post, many people joined in to say that they had heard similar stories. I knew a girl in high school that did this shit. I think a lot of these girls nowadays are fucking their dog. One user replied, when man and male dog become indistinguishable, society is fucked. In these posts, it is very common for photos of specific women to be shared online with these unsubstantial claims. Searches for dog pill on Reddit result in hundreds of pictures of women simply photographed with their dogs. Common replies to these pictures read, are resentful and aggressive. Those same women would never fuck a subhuman incel. These dogs have actually got more pussy than us. Well, see, now that's a big ass dog right there. I mean, that's damn near the size of a horse. Any more pictures? Wow, that's just a little. I guess there's a jar. I guess that's the reason why he looks so crazy, because she bought that big family-sized jar of peanut butter. That is a big dog, man. Alright, Mark, not his real name, is a moderator of Reddit's Incel Tears, a forum dedicated to mocking incels, post online, which has over 200,000 subscribers. These posts on our Incel Tears are screenshots of contents from all corners of the incel internet. Posts about hating bitches, tips on avoiding sluts and whores, images in the stories. Incels claim support their theories about the evils of sexual women. Many of them come from the now quarantine Reddit forum Brain Cells, which was a hub of violent and misogynistic language that will close to fresh posts and so frozen in time still can be accessed. I'm trying to get to the dogs. Although the dog pill's origins are murky, Mark believes it nestled in perfectly with the wider men's backlash against female sexual liberation. Okay, now it's female sexual liberation that they're going to say that bestiality is the next thing. Okay, what's the over and under, boys? What do you think this is going to be? The next sexual ways men are crushing women's spirits by not letting them have sex with their dogs. I think it evolved from the ideal that women like big, strong alpha males, and that women don't care about anything as long as you're tall and protective, he tells me. Then it evolved into incels believing that women don't even care if their mate is human as long as it meets that criteria, damn it. Plus, certain trolls constantly post articles about very rare separate incidents of women sexually abusing their dogs, so other incels fall for the propaganda. Okay, so they have articles, they back up what they say. So I don't get how it's propaganda. Okay, yeah, here's that broad. What Mark is referring to is a specific incident that is obviously cited in incel spaces to give credence to dog pill claims. Amy Lynn Liu, more commonly known by her stage name Whitney, Wisconsin, was a YouTuber, famous self-described porn star who made a name for herself uh, doing sexual related pranks. But in 2016, Wisconsin became famous on incel forums after she uploaded a video where she listed her 10 reasons why women should have sex with dogs. It turned her into a poster girl for the dog pill movement. Wisconsin's face is now plastered all over the forum on Reddit, 4chan, and 8chan near daily. She is the topic of hundreds of YouTube videos arguing that the dog pill is real, raking up millions of views. Misinformation about Wisconsin moves rapidly into the spaces too, with hundreds of posts claiming that Wisconsin went to prison for murdering dogs, when in reality she was arrested for making pornographic films while underage. Despite that, Wisconsin's video has become a foundation citation in dog pilling arguments, where she is most commonly known as the dog bucker. What? Yeah, that's the reason why that dog looks so goddamn crazy. I'm just trying to get to something that makes sense here. Yeah, Thomas Gloria Steinem did admit she was funded by the CIA. Somebody made a video on that. I don't know what the story is behind that. I don't know where or the why, but I've heard that before. Okay, here we go. We're getting off the dog bucking story. The internet is full of men who hate feminism. Here's what they're like in person. Some men have always been wretched. Oh, here we go. It only took the internet to make this obvious. Women, some women at least, have also known for all the sense that we are in a generational finding a new voice. A generation finding a new voice. It may be more accurate to say that we are in a generation where an old voice has finally found volume, but volume brought consequences. Organized intimidation is now fair game for anybody audible to the mob, and everyone is audible online. Jesus Christ. I don't know, guys. I'm thinking. I'm thinking of finding another article because it's going to be how awful men are, but yet feminism does not hate men. I guarantee you that's how this one's going. Okay, yeah, get rid of that if I can. This one will go away. Okay, fuck you, you fucking pig, kill yourself. Woman unleashes an epic, expletive-ridden rant after being rejected by her crush, so he annoys her further by correcting her grammar. When it comes to dating, it's safe to say everyone has experienced rejection at some point, but one woman known as Amber took the rebuff particularly hard after her crush gently spurned her offer to meet up via text, explaining that he was too busy for a relationship. From being incredulous to downright furious, the psycho woman swiftly descends into expletive ridden hysteria and even dishes out death threats, leaving her suitor baffled. Now, who is that about women saying that they are getting all this poison thrown their way? You know, they say it like women are not capable of doing the same thing, yet they project their behavior onto men, and anything remotely similar, then they claim it. Okay. So she asked, would you like to go out on a date sometime? He replies, to be completely honest with you, Amber, I'm not really looking to date anyone right now. You seem like a cool person, and you've got a good personality and all, but I've just got a lot on my plate. We could definitely hang out, though. As friends, maybe do some gaming or something. Yeah, I think that was pretty cool, the way you said it. She goes, LOL, you seriously turned me down? I am the prize. What do you mean? You're nothing but just a low down male that you crave sex, that can't control yourself. And then when a beautiful goddess like me gives you a chance, you turn me down? So my man goes on to say, I'm not turning you down. I'm just saying I'm not interested in dating someone right now. What are you implying in that sentence anyway? Good motherfucking question. Reddit user Austin Sayon, believed to be from the U.S., shared her reaction in a string of texts that were posted on Mgtow I'm whatever. He explained, I was having a casual conversation with a girl I met, and she goes crazy on me because I told her I wasn't looking to date. The woman starts off the conversation by writing, so I've liked you for a while now. Would you like to go out date sometime? Her target, however, didn't seem keen and replied candidly, to be completely honest with you, Amber, I'm not looking to date somebody right now. Trying to soften the blow, he concedes you seem like a pretty cool person and you got a good personality, but I got a lot on my plate. We could definitely hang out. Okay. She goes, clearly, you are stuck up a-hole of a mill. Your luck as fuck that I've ever asked your ass out. Fuck you. What is that about women being harassed? I don't know. Oh, wow. Thank you for showing me your true colors. I didn't realize you were psychotic. We're done here. Please refrain from texting me again. Fuck you, you fucking pig. Kill yourself. You're missing out. I don't see how I'm missing out here. You just went completely psycho on me over nothing. I have a full-time job. I'm not and I'm in school full time as well. I don't have time to dedicate for a relationship with anyone. All you're doing is making excuses. You are a stuck up a-hole, and you think you're better than this. You never have a girl like me. I'm blocking me. And he goes, you should really see a psychologist. You should also work on your grammar. Have a nice life. Good for you, my man. Good for you. This man is definitely not a simp. This man has definitely red-pilled himself. Instead of sacrificing his life to be a workhorse for a female, he's taking care of business. And this is why women do not like Mgtow. Go to the next article if my machine will allow it. The spinning wheel of death. Okay, let me see if we're still streaming. Are we still streaming? It says we're still streaming. Okay. Guy angers his single mom's sister after telling her she shouldn't have another kid if she expects her family to pay for it. I think that's pretty reasonable. It says, children, it takes a village, sometimes literally. In this crazy world we live in, it seems almost unaffordable to have a child these days. Feeding children, feeding, clothing, and taking care of a child cost an insane amount of money, and a lot of folks simply do not make enough to make ends meet. But does that mean someone else in the family should be financially responsible if a person chooses to have a child? He goes on to say, so my sister Lisa's 33 years old, has 2 kids. A 4-year-old female and a 2-year-old male. She chose not to have their father in his life as she constantly harassed him and said he was nothing than a sperm donor. He tried really hard to be there for his kids, but he was so sick of her toxicity that he ran. He offered child support, but she wasn't going to let him see them, and even asked for supervised visitation, and she refused both. I really tried hard to reason with her and say she couldn't keep the kids from their dad, but she glorified the ideal of single motherhood. That has led to things being strained between me and Lisa. I'm only civil for the kids, and I've had to listen to her constantly say how hard it is being a single mom and how she barely has enough money. I have told her as best I could she chose this and was horrible to her ex, a lovely man, for no reason, but she refuses to believe she's done anything wrong. Okay. That's typical. Yeah. She needs a reality check. Yeah. I'm just gonna pass this one. That's another dumb bitch. Okay, how to identify a female psychopath. I'm pretty sure we've all came across every other woman Okay, it says 17% of incarcerated women fit the criteria of a psychopath. Estimated 1 in 100 people fit the definition of psychopath, but most are not dangerous killers. Let me get to the point where we can recognize it. Okay, it is important to keep in mind that psychology is a personality disorder, or psychopathy is a personality disorder. As such, it is classified as a mental illness, and many such illnesses manifest differently in men than in women. For example, the symptoms we usually associate with a heart attack, chest pain, tingling in the left arm, sweating, are symptoms that are most common in men. When women suffer a heart attack, they tend to experience different symptoms like shortness of breath and nausea. The stereotypical signs of a psychopath, including animal abuse and violent psychopaths and superficial charm, and successful nonviolent psychopaths are far more indicative of male personality. Female psychopaths exhibit different and often less violent signs. As a result, female psychopaths are more likely to go undetected. So if you want to be able to spot a female psychopath, you need to know how female psychopaths may differ from males. Here are two key differences. Differences in narcissism. All psychopaths are high in narcissism. This means that they see themselves as superior to those around them. But how this narcissism is expressed differs from men and women. Male narcissists tend to shout their self-praise from the rooftops. They tend to brag about their accomplishments and their superiority on social media. They have no problem telling you to your face that they are better than you. Female psychopaths are different. They're more covert about their narcissistic tendencies. They smile and praise you face to face, but they still think they are better than you. So far, you're describing most females in the United States. Differences in aggression. Male psychopaths tend to display their aggressiveness behaviorally. They engage in physical assault, abuse animals, or commit violent crimes. This help explains why the percentage of psychopaths in male prisons is double that of female prisons. Since male psychopaths are more likely to engage in violent behavior, they're more likely to get caught and locked up. Female psychopaths are better equipped to fly under the radar. This is because they tend to display their aggression relationally. They spread gossip about you at work. They gaslight you to the point that you doubt your own sanity. They leech off you and manipulate you to doing their bidding. How is this different from any other woman? They leech off you and manipulate you to doing their bidding. Think Jennifer Jason Leigh's character in the movie Single White Female. If you refuse to go along, they threaten to harm themselves in response. They are master puppeteers, pushing everyone's button and pulling people strings to get what they want. In the end, the difference comes down to this. Male psychopaths throw punches, female psychopaths throw shade. So what should you do if you suspect there is a female psychopath lurking in your life? The first step is to identify them, which is harder than you think. Despite what the movies lead us to believe, most psychopaths are not psychotic, raging killers. Instead, most are what psychologists call successful psychopaths. They're your CEO, doctor, lawyer, or beloved celebrity, all of which are professions with high percentages of psychopaths. So there's the good news. If there's a psychopath in your life, he or she is not likely to kill you. But here's the bad news. They are likely to make your life miserable and harm you in less obvious ways. This is why detection is key. But before you start feeling paranoid, know this: not every woman who gossips or threatens self-harm is a psychopath. Psychopathy is a narrowly defined disorder made up of a combination of 3 traits, not just one. To learn more about these 3 traits you can use to identify a psychopath, see my prior post. See if we'll go to our prior post. Where are your... Okay, here's the dark triad. Machiavellianism. People high in Machiavellianism are dubious, cunning, and manipulative. Okay, this again describes most women. They place a higher priority than most on power and money. Yeah, yep. I think we're seeing a pattern here. For people high in this trait, manipulating others is an impulse, like an alcoholic's impulse to drink. I mean, you should stop right here. Okay, lack of conscious or empathy. Again, you're describing most women in the divorce court. They don't care how bad they're hurting the man. You know, they have a lack of conscious, and they certainly don't have any empathy. Narcissism. How much money does a woman spend on shoes, clothes, makeup, nails, hair? Yeah, I say they're pretty high in narcissism. Let's see what the chat says. Well, boys, I tell you what, I guess that's enough for now. I'm glad you guys decided to join me, and I hope you guys were somewhat entertained. And we'll probably do this again fairly soon. You guys have a good night.